For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby Gervais?
From the end of the bridge to, you got to go through. Now, I believe that the bodies were found about 50.
Born from a family's grief and determination. In April of 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen went missing while stationed at one of the largest military installations.
You hear that little music in the background that goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed it.
Chilling details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
Him, they dropped the ball, man. Like they said, he went AWOL, and that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. The press release from the police department, it indicated that they're still trying to put pieces together from that night. Does that worry you at any point or at any bit that they're still trying to put those pieces together?
It's been over 5 weeks since little Kaylee Anthony vanished. Her mother, Casey, has been arrested for lying to police. She's being held without bail.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Big Blue, with all this noise coming out about P. Diddy and the music industry and all these big famous persons and producers and rappers, like, do you feel like everything you've been told or growing up was like a lie?
No, I mean, some of the P. Diddy stuff that has come out is pretty crazy, but the rap industry is pretty crazy in itself. Nowadays, it's not so bad, but back in the early 90s, 2000s, I mean, it was all about sex, drugs, and money, and there was a lot of everything going around.
Yeah, well, I mean, the stuff that's accused and alleged in some of these reports and lawsuits are a lot more than just, drug, sex, rock and roll. But, not just that. I mean, there's also the accusations of trafficking. There's the accusations and the speculation of minors, being involved in this. So it's a little bit different. And we don't have time to deny it, but, there's that Nickelodeon scandal that's been going on. Have you seen that new logo, Blue? And how they comparing it to Epstein Island?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing all the conspiracies about, what was his name, Dan
Schneider.
Dan Schneider, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how messed up he was, and then how that's why they think Amanda Bynes and all the other stars that have come out pretty messed up from Nickelodeon, or because of him. That girl Sam from that she's from another show that my kids used to watch. I think it was called iCarly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she came out pretty messed up and had some accusations too. But the hammer's gonna start dropping on these people pretty soon, man. I mean, look at what happened. I can't remember his real name. I think it's Daniel, also from the '70s show.
Oh yeah, dude, what's his name? Dan. It starts with an H. I can see his name, but he played Hyde. Maybe that's where the H comes from. But he played Hyde on that '70s show, Rooster on that Netflix show. I can't remember.
Yeah. And he got
Masterson, Daniel Masterson. There you go. That's what it was.
He got 30 years, man. I think 30 years for what he did.
Matheson. I said it wrong. My bad. I apologize. Matheson. That's what happens when you go by memory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he ended up getting quite a bit, dude. But I think he's arguing. I think there's going to be a case coming up pretty soon, or a trial pretty soon, because he's arguing that I think the statute of limitations on some of the accusations and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, well, look what happened with Mr. Jello Pudding Pops, and he got out early. I mean, Diddy's not if he gets caught, or he gets taken to court and got found guilty, he ain't the first one.
No, he definitely isn't. But it's kind of becoming like almost everybody's big name has had some sort of scandal behind them in some form of fashion or way. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just crazy how back then they had all their money to hide all their issues, and now money don't matter when it comes to those issues, because people want their justice, and then all the dark lies and truths, all the payoffs, they may come out.
Well, P. Diddy once had a song that he produced. I think it's called Mo Money, Mo Problems. He's living it firsthand. So let's get into what's been going on now. 50 Cent and his ex, I guess, I don't know if it's his ex-wife or just his, the daughter of the mother of his child, have been going back and forth. I think they're going through some sort of custody battle right now. And 50 Cent, responded or reacted to some of the claims in the Mr. Jones lawsuit that I believe her name is Daphne J, was a sex worker and hired by P. Diddy. And 50 Cent came out with this little post here. It says, "I didn't know you was a sex worker," with eyes emoji. "You little sex worker, laugh out loud. Yo, this is a movie. Gunitbrains.com." He throws in his little website there at the end of it. Now he doesn't name the daughter, I keep saying the daughter of his mother. He doesn't name his child's mother in this post, but it's well implied. Big Blue, what are your thoughts on 50 Cent's post here?
Well, he was just making fun of it, but she came out saying that she wasn't one, and they would know the truth back, unless she hit it really well. But I mean, a lot of those high-end escorts do try to chase the money. I hear some stories out there that are pretty crazy about some of them, especially when they go to Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the country singer Jelly Roll. His wife openly admits that she was an escort, and he knows about her history. And she used to cost, I don't know how much per night. She named a couple of big names in Vegas that would take her out at night to take her out, and it was like the mayor of the city, a bunch of other big names out there. So it's a profession.
Yeah,
it's been around for, I think they said it's the oldest profession in the world.
You're not lying there, Big Blue. You're not lying. So the document states in the passage names Young Miami, Jade, and Daphne Joy as women who were paid monthly fee to work as Mr. Combs' sex workers. Now, since then, she's kind of responded. Let's pull up what she has had to say about the scenario, the situation. Shoot, I had it up here. Let me pull it up real quick. Where did it go? Here it is.
But with a lot of this, if it's true and it was trafficking minors, then that's serious. And but there's some non-minors that get trafficked because that's the only way they know how to make money, or the way they grew up.
Yeah, you're right.
It's illegal in some states. It's not illegal in others. I mean, it just varies on the state you live in.
I think there's just a few states that it's legal in. So this is Daphne, and this is a post that she put out there on her Instagram, and is directly directed towards Curtis James Jackson, which is 50 Cent's real name if you weren't aware. It says, everything is a joke to you until your safety is compromised, which is happening now. So I guess Daphne is complaining that her safety is compromised with what's going on. You are wrecking real havoc, frenzy, and chaos on the people's lives. How would you feel if Sire was the one in handcuffs for nothing? I don't know, man. So this is one coming out, I guess, also in support of Diddy, but she is one that is named as one of the sex workers. So we got to keep that in mind. All right. So it says here, we moved to New York to give you the opportunity to be a father to your son, and you saw him 10 times out of the 2 years that we lived 1 mile away from you. I am tired of upholding and protecting an image to our son that you have never earned. Let's put the real focus on your true evil actions of S-ing. It's actually saying the real word there, but that'll get us kicked off real quick. Me and physically abusing me. So she's accusing him of S-A in this public, post here. Now, I know they're going through a divorce and things like that, and she's all of a sudden, in this document and in the news, her name's brought up in this lawsuit. What do you think about the timing of this accusation?
I mean, that's pretty damning, but that a lot of stuff always comes out when stuff starts getting filed, and you always gotta try to be the somebody always wants to play the victim, somebody always wants to play the
right,
the accuser. I mean the one that did it. And it always turns into a bad legal battle, man.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And somebody put out there, I want to say, I put it on there. They put on there. It's her anniversary tonight.
Happy anniversary, Meg.
Yeah, attend your dinner. You can always watch us on the rewatch. Go get a nice steak or if you're a vegan, a nice steak and some salad. You can give your husband the steak and you eat the salad if you're a vegan.
If you're a vegan. If you're not, eat all the steak you can. Happy anniversary to you and to your husband. I hope you guys have a fun and safe night, and we'll catch you on the replay. So back to what I was saying, Blue. Do you think that, well, if this is the first time that she brings up this accusation, right, it hasn't brought up before, do you find that suspicious in the timing in which, it comes out after, he's making light of the situation that she's in?
Yeah.
They're going through a divorce. How much validity do you put in this accusation?
I mean, it's one of those things where, like I said, somebody's gonna try to drag you through the mud, especially.
Well, I'm asking you, do you buy it?
It could be true. It could not be true. I don't know, man. That's their personal life,
All right, Big Blue. I'm not gonna put you on the hot spot. I see Blue turning red. This is happening live. So this says here, you are no longer my oppressor, and my God will handle you from this point on. You have permanently damaged the last hope I had for you as a father to preserve our family with these last and final false claims made against me. You have broken our hearts for the last and final time. So I think he just had one thing to say right there so far that I know. Maybe there's some more things he said out there publicly, but even in that, public tweet or post on X, it didn't have her name there. It didn't really specifically say her, although I find it pretty obvious that she is the target of where that tweet was going.
I mean, imagine he's worth. I think he was hitting the billions. He was up there, man. Mm-hmm. He had the water, the energy drink that he sold. He had all the shows that he makes and produces, and he still gets money from the music.
Mm-hmm.
Man, all the stuff he does, she's looking for a pretty penny. It's a pretty buyout.
Oh yeah. Yep, 100%. So this is the next post that Daphne Joy posts on Instagram. It states, I am deeply hurt by the lies in Rodney Jones's lawsuit. The claim that I am a sex worker is 100% false and a character assassination. I am retaining an attorney to explore all legal remedies against both Rodney and his attorney. So she's claiming she's going to file a lawsuit. Let's see if she actually goes through with it. It's one thing to post something and one thing to do it, right? So if she doesn't come forth with some sort of lawsuit, do you find that to be maybe perhaps, I don't know, confirmation of what Rodney is claiming?
Maybe. I mean, but she's already got a lawyer for the divorce that she's going through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that hard to say, hey, can I add a defamation case to this? And
yeah, but if you go and do that and you put yourself in that situation, you also have to, well, then the evidence can be presented against you, right?
Yeah.
So if this guy, Rodney Jones, has video surveillance, pictures, text messages, or whatever the case may be, that she was involved in some of these acts, and those were to come forward, that would completely blow the case out of the water.
Yeah, it would.
So me thinking out loud is, she put it out there. She wants to talk to their lawyer to, to talk about what kind of legal remedies that they can have. It doesn't say that they're going to sue anybody. It just says that they're going to explore those remedies. But in my opinion, you put this out there, you don't do it. It's like somebody saying, hey, I'll take a lie detector test, and then they don't show up. What does that mean? What does that say? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. But the way they worded that seems like lawyer wording to me. Somebody wrote it for her.
Yeah, that's true. It does seem like it is lawyer verbiage. You're absolutely right on that. Now, what are
40 million is what he's worth. Well, it was halfway to $1 billion.
Oh, he's not. He's a long way to $1 billion. Big Blue, you're going to school too much, dude. You're going
to... Okay, yeah, I'm off. Yeah.
You're missing a zero there, my man.
Yeah, you're right. I was like, I think you said it. Wait, yeah, you're right. It should be 400 million.
Yeah, it's all good, my man. It's all good. I bust everybody when it comes to math. All right.
Yeah, I suck at math sometimes.
Now, my wife, one of her coworkers, was talking about an increase from 3% of like 50,000, and they said that the 3% of 50,000 was 3,000, and I was like, no, it's not. That's not wrong. I mean, that's wrong. I was like, 3% of 50K is like 1,500. Now, if you had 100,000, 3% of 100,000 would be 3,000. And so I was like, wait a minute. This guy does numbers for a living? I don't know about this no more. But let's get back on track, my man. So Rodney Jones, Lil Rod, he's a producer. He was hired by Sean P. Diddy Combs to work on his recent album. I believe it's called the Love Album. And, well, we haven't really gone through it all. The accusations were there by that's been going around. We have seen some of them. Let's kind of go through what's actually in here. Now, there's 73 pages. We're not going to go through all 73. A lot of it is repetitive stuff, and then also repeating code and things of that nature. So I've highlighted the key parts. Now, Big Blue, I'm just, wondering, have you gone through this?
I have not gone through any of the documents yet.
Have you heard about the stuff in the documents?
I mean, I've seen a couple of videos. I'm not sure if it's part of this or not.
Okay. Well, what are your thoughts currently? Now, I want to get your thoughts before we go through this, and then I'll get your thoughts afterwards, obviously. But what are your thoughts right now about the accusations? Sean P. Diddy Combs has been raided. I believe we read an article that stated that he took off to the Caribbean after he was stopped in Miami. So apparently, and this is just rumors, P. Diddy threw up his private jet and had it flying around and landed in Miami, where he swapped jets to get into another one and threw his plane back up in efforts to elude tracking. Now, this is all allegedly hearsay. I read this online. But don't that sound suspicious? And I think I read an article the last time we were on the show that stated that after he spoke with federal agents and law enforcement, that he ended up getting back on a plane and taking off to the Caribbean anyways. So what do you think about that situation? The fact that he was using a possible decoy plane and trying to leave the country on the day that his mansions get raided?
I mean, I think it's suspicious, but he's got the money to do that. You know what I mean? If all his stuff's getting raided, he's not gonna want to stay there. You know,
But doesn't that mean you're fleeing though, Blue? Doesn't that sound like you're?
Nah, he's got the money to say, instead of saying I'm gonna go rent a hotel at the Hilton, or you know, if it was me at the Econo Lodge, that's what I'd probably be renting.
No, I get that, but if you got the money for the lawyers, why are you fleeing? I mean, just have your lawyers handle everything if you didn't do anything.
Yeah, but then he came back, so it's like
he didn't come back.
Well, I thought you said he came back.
No. He got on his plane and it stopped in Miami, and in Miami he switched planes and his private plane took off, and they ended up having it stopped out there in a Caribbean island somewhere. Now, he had switched planes while he was in Miami, and that's where they videotaped him pacing back and forth. At that airport that airport is where the feds got to him. They spoke to him. They confiscated a few things, including his phone. They ended up arresting a young man, Brandon Paul, I think is what his name was, or something like that. We'll see his name here in a little bit in the paperwork. He was his drug mule. He used to be a basketball player out of Syracuse. Obviously went down the wrong path. And he got popped for some drugs. He had some edibles and I think cocaine or something to that nature. And so he ended up getting arrested. They let P. Diddy go. He got on his other plane still and then took off apparently to the Caribbeans. Now,
I mean, to me, it seems like if they had concrete evidence of something, they would have arrested him. Right now, they're trying to build a case, and they don't have it yet. What they need, you know. So,
no, I get you, man. It's just I find it suspicious. I find it suspicious as hell. You know, I think that the fact that he's leaving the country on the day that he is getting raided should be a huge red flag number one. Now, does it mean anything? No, it really doesn't. At the end of the day, you have, you know, it's about the evidence. And with that being said, let's get into what we think some of the evidence is. Trigger warning. This document contains highly graphic information of sexual nature, including sexual assault. Additionally, there are graphic images of the aftermath of a shooting, redacted images of sexual intercourse. Sorry about that, guys. Redacted images of minors, sex workers, and prostitutes, details of sex trafficking and other illegal distribution of guns and drugs. If you guys have not hit that like button or ring that subscribe button or ring that notification bell, I'd appreciate if you do that now, because the content we're about to get into, it's not going to affect this content favorably. So in order to get that going out there, we'd appreciate the likes and the comments. All right, Blue, let's get into this. So the plaintiff is Little Rod Jones, Mr. Jones, who here is alleged as the complainant. The defendant is Sean Combs, Justin Dorr Combs, Lucian Charles Grange, Ethiopia Habitzer Miriam, Christina Coram, Chales Recording Studios, Love Records, Motown Records, Universal Music Group, Combs Global Enterprises, John and Jane Doe 1 through 10, ABC Corporations 1 through 10, as follows. So, let me go. This is the defendant, Sean Combs. Zoom in on this. And he was born in oh no, Ryan, that's his son. I was like, no way, he was born in 93. He was rapping in 93.
he was still dancing around in the white jet with Biggie around. No, I think that was 93, right?
Yeah, because it says Sean Combs, and then I just didn't read the next part. Justin Dwyer or Dior Combs, his son. All right, You have Lucien Charles Grange. This is a picture of who he is. And this guy is the CEO of Universal Music Group. This is
somebody at Universal's finally going down.
Yeah. Ethiopia Habertamarian is the CEO, former CEO of Motown Records. Christina Quoram, Chief of Staff at Diddy Combs Global Enterprises. And Motown, Universal Music Group, Love Records, and Combs Global. So this is a little bit about Rodney Jones. It says Rodney Little Rod Jones is from the Windy City, Chi-Town in Chicago. He was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Mr. Jones is the second oldest son and fourth out of 9 siblings. Mr. Jones comes from a long line of gospel music influencers. Mr. Jones started playing instruments at the age of 5 and began playing drums in church at the age of 13. He picked up playing the guitar from 13 to present day. Mr. Jones has taught himself to play over 13 instruments. Mr. Jones is considered a musical prodigy. His talents have led him to produce and create commercial marketplace for music that has been recorded by some of the most prestigious and highly acclaimed artists in the music industry.
That's another church guy, man. Another church guy. What did I tell you?
Well, he's the victim, according to him here. Now, there's going to be some stuff that I question, but we'll see. But he's the victim, Big Blue. All right, so this is where it kind of gets into what's going on. It says, on or about August 2022, Mr. Jones received a call from Mr. Combs requesting that he produce several songs on a rhythm and blues album titled The Love Album, Off the Grid Love Album. Mr. Jones agreed, and his life has been detrimentally impacted ever since. Between September 22 and November 23, Jones produced 9 songs on Mr. Combs' album. Jones lived with Mr. Combs for months at a time, and he resided at Mr. Combs' residences in Los Angeles, New York City, Miami, Florida. And he also spent several weeks on a yacht rented by Mr. Jones in the US Virgin Islands. So we have locations of where these things are probably going to be taking place. And we have this producer being, well, actually living with P. Diddy Combs. Now, I'm not in the music industry. Big Blue, I know you did a stint as a rapper once. Do you think that it is common, for, your producers to live with an artist?
I don't think it would be common, because most of the time, what I heard is they get, put up in hotels, and they're not the best hotels. But but maybe to save money, Combs is keeping him at his house, and maybe at a guest house. Now, if you had a guest house, I would stay. I say, hey, yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I'm not saying that it's probably, it's something that should be automatically looked at as a nefarious.
Yeah.
I'm just not familiar with this type of, I just wouldn't think that this type of living situation would be occurring amongst, people who are very wealthy and can afford to rent out a place for X amount of time at a time. And, when you're working with a billionaire like Mr. Combs, and you're being a producer, having to go with him and chauffeur or whatever, maybe this was his way of paying his lodge, but I would have requested to have my own lodging and my own place. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe the yacht thing, I get it. With the rest of them, I don't know about that, But then again, I mean, this is somebody you're probably looking up to. You're probably not expecting some of the accusations that are being brought up against him prior to living with him. So, yeah. So you think you would have fallen for this trick, Blue? You would have been there?
I mean, I think if you had a guest house, hey, I got a guest house you can stay at, instead of, down the street at the hotel. And, I got maid service, I got a professional chef, I got everything you need. Sure, I would stay there, because if he has the production, company at his house too, like the studio,
yeah,
you wouldn't have to drive nowhere. You just walk over, schedule a session.
Man, Blue, it kind of sounds like you're ready to stay with him now. Are you sure? What's going on here?
Maybe if it has an open bar, shoot.
You don't want to drink what's there, man. You don't want to drink what's there. I promise you. You'll find out what's there in a second.
I'll be like the guy that in the joke saying, "Leave no bottle unturned." You know.
You'd be the only person that's still walking around laced with all this type of drugs, still drinking.
Yeah, like I said, I'll be the one that'd be like, one time I got so drunk when I went on a pub run one time, and the last bar was this huge 3-story bar, and I felt like I was gonna pass out, so I went. I told my buddy, I told one of them, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the car and I'm gonna lay in the car, man. I'm not passing out in this club because they're gonna arrest me." And then my buddy's like, I was looking for you, and I remember you said you went to the car, but I was like 30 minutes later. He's like, I forgot to give you the keys. So I was wondering where the hell you went. I was asleep on the trunk.
That sucks, man. Well, you didn't get arrested, right?
No.
Oh, that's all that counts, man. There you go. It wasn't the night that Sean Combs was in town, right?
Nope. That's why I went. If it was, that's why I went to go sleep on the car.
True story, man. So let's get back into this. So it says here, through the time that Mr. Jones resided with Mr. Combs, Jones witnessed and experienced and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer in the Love album. The claims raised in his complaint have been corroborated through witness statements, video and audio recordings, and images Mr. Jones is in his possession. Mr. Combs required Jones to record him constantly. Mr. Combs took Jones's phone and began recording himself. As a result, Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. Hundreds of hours, Big Blue. That's a lot of hours. It's not 51 terabytes of hours, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, he probably threw some parties, and of course he's a big name, so he probably has drugs and everything on the table. And then when you party like that, you're gonna want some male or female companion, depending on what he likes. So he'll get somebody to bring that too.
Dude, yeah. Well, let's get back to you're going to be surprised. I know you haven't read this. It says Mr. Jones has secured irrefutable evidence of the acquisition of use and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. The displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms. Mr. Combs is providing laced alcohol beverages to minors and sex workers at his homes in California, New York, and the U.S.
Ex-hustler rapper has illegal firearms.
Oh, dude, God. It gets worse, man. I mean, how this guy has not gone to jail and has been able to get away with this for decades is beyond me. It's beyond me. So it says here that also the U.S. Virgin Islands and Florida, Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, is instructing her staff to retrieve drugs so she can provide it to Mr. Combs and for his consumption. Christian Combs drugging and sexually assaulting women. Number 2 is what the footnote is, and we'll go through some of the footnotes here. Those get even crazier, my man. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes, soften the impact of his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, young Mamie's cousin, and or assisting sexually assaulting Mr. Jones. Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. sexually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones. Rapper 3 redacted on Mr. Combs' yacht, consorting with underage girls, sex workers, and R&B singer number 4 redacted in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home, consorting with underage girls and sex workers. So let's go see who rapper 3 and rapper 4 are. So rapper 3 is a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Now, we've done some Google search, and allegedly that comes back to rapper Meek Mill. Number 4, let me pull this off real quick. So number 4, it says here, is the Grammy award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement after assaulting a Bajan billionaire. Blue, who do you think that is? If you could take a guess. Who's the Grammy award-winning R&B who had trouble with law enforcement after assaulting Bajan billionaire.
I don't know. I don't know anybody who was assaulted.
You know. Watch this.
Oh,
Bajan
yeah.
entertainer Rihanna Jones joins a billionaire club. So, who got in trouble after assaulting her?
Jay-Z.
No.
No, Drake.
No, man.
Dang it. I'm getting them all wrong. Chris Brown.
There you go.
Dang it. Oh,
I
Jay-Z
got-
assaulted Beyonce's sister. That's right.
Yeah. So we have apparently Meek Mill on Mr. Combs' yacht consorting with underage girls and workers, and also Chris Brown in Los Angeles doing the same thing. So it says here, allegedly. We don't know if that's true or not. So allegedly. Okay, on or about September 12, 2022, Mr. Combs held a writers and producers camp at Khalees Recording Studio at 854 Highland Avenue in Los Angeles. Present at his camp were Mr. Combs, his son Justin Combs, and Justin's friend named G. Mr. G is a 30-year-old tall African male. One evening during the camp, Mr. Combs, Mr. J Combs, and G were in a heated conversation. That conversation was moved out of the studio and into the restroom adjacent to where Mr. Jones was sitting. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom when gunshots rang out. Mr. Jones recalls hearing multiple gunshots. Mr. Jones immediately went out into a state of shock. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and J Combs exited. G was lying on the restroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach and bleeding out of his hip area. Now, if you're squeamish, I wouldn't, I don't know, maybe look up here in a little bit because there's a picture here of the scene. So everyone was just looking upon G, frustrated, like to AG. Jones dropped and ran to G and immediately began placing pressure on G's gunshot wound. So it says here, Mr. Jones lifted G and brought him to the ambulance at the studio's front. At this time, Mr. Combs and Justin disappeared to another part of the studio. Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. Interesting. And so here is a clipping of an article that happened on September 12, 2022, where it says at least one person shot at a party in Hollywood recording studio. Police say Monday. It's shooting around 3 a.m. It says they found a man been shot after stepping outside the studio. He was reportedly shot in the abdomen. It says Sky 2 was over the scene Monday, spotted several people sitting outside the location being questioned by police. No information released about the suspect. So what do you think about that, Big Blue? It appears that either Sean Diddy or his son may have allegedly shot somebody in that restroom.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, the crazy part about it is, that the cops, I'm pretty sure they did an investigation to see if it was a drive-by, and it's there's always cameras at those places, so they should have caught something. Maybe it was one of those times that they said the cameras were off, but it's pretty crazy if that happened and they got away with that.
Oh, dude, nah. What if I told you the cops went into the building and into the restroom and saw this scene, and still said that it was outside?
What?
Yeah. What would you say?
I'd say, well, it's hard because it would have been a blood trail from him walking out. So then they could say, well, that was us taking them inside the restroom and us taking them out. So that could be a big lie, but still.
Nah, he was outside. He was shot outside. He was outside when the ambulance people got out there.
Yeah.
So why would there be blood like that inside the restroom?
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, P. Diddy claims that he knows some people in high places. Do you think this is evidence of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let me turn off my alarm. I'll be right back.
No problem, man. I'm going to continue this. Says here, Mr. Jones had several cooperating witnesses who spoke with this writer anonymously due to the fear of retaliation of Combs, who have agreed to speak publicly when subpoenaed. Mr. Jones has the clothing that he wore that day, believes he still has the stains in the DNA of G's blood. The following are screenshots of the aftermath of the arrest when G was shot by either Combs or J. Combs. So viewer discretion is advised. It just kind of shows a little bit of blood on the seat there and a little bit on the floor. There's what seems to be a mat that appears to be kind of soaked in several different places. I'm gonna wait for Blue to get back up here. He's gonna see what his opinions are. If he thought that if somebody was shot in the abdomen, if that was consistent with the blood you would expect to see. And he's almost back. All right, Blue, question. Is this blood that you see here in the restroom the amount of blood that you would be that you would think to have found in a place where somebody was shot in the hip and in the abdomen?
I mean, definitely, yes. There's quite a bit of blood. But what's that on the toilet? Is that like a jacket or something?
Yeah, it appears to be either a jacket or some sort of clothing. Yeah.
And how about, did they even look to see if there was an exit wound and the bullet anywhere?
I have no idea. But it went unsolved. It went unsolved. So it says here, number 48 says, clearly G was not shot outside of the studio as Mr. Combs instructed his team to report to law enforcement. And we'll get a little bit further down where there's a little bit more about this case. So this one here goes into Mr. Jones was sexually harassed and assaulted by Combs. Throughout his time living with Mr. Combs, Jones was the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his, it rhymes with famous, by Mr. Combs.
That's crazy. I mean,
do you think that that's above and beyond the scope of a producer's work?
Yep, definitely.
Like the fact that this guy is, willing to go out there and say that this is what happened to him.
It's pretty brave.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty brave. A lot of courage for him to come out and say this. Does that add some validity to what he's saying?
I mean, it adds validity to what everybody else had been saying about Diddy.
That's true too. That's true too.
The photos that came out, he was. I think we did it on one of the other reports where he was dressed up as a woman. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. I remember that one. Well, I don't know. He just had a wig on. Yeah. Oh, it might be some other stuff, but yeah.
There were some other stories that came out, like.
Yeah. Oh, dude, there's a ton of them. They're in here. They're in here. This one says here, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around naked and showered in a clear class enclosure. As a heterosexual Christian man, Mr. Jones was uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expressed his discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, who responded with, Sean will be Sean. Okay, Karam also attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones's anus and genitalia as friendly horseplay, stating that those were acts Mr. Combs' way of showing he likes you.
He really, really liked them.
What? How is this real, man? How is this real?
She's comparing it to, when you're playing football and somebody slaps you in the hip, Good job.
That's the other thing too, man. They're saying anus. It's not saying buttocks.
Yeah, and they're saying genitalia.
Yeah, that's super specific.
This is crazy.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's see. Despite the assurances on several occasions when Mr. Combs began to undress and walk around his house naked, Karam would say, okay, I'm leaving now, and she would disappear. So she was like, it's okay for you to go through this, but if I start seeing him undressing, I know what that means. I'm out of here. Right?
Yeah.
So it says here, Mr. Jones believes that Karan aided and abetted Mr. Combs' sexual assault of him and was working with Mr. Combs to groom him into accepting a homosexual relationship. Mr. Combs was aware that Mr. Jones looked up to and idolized producer Stephen Aaron Jordan, Stevie J. Stevie J was a part of the Bad Boys record production team, The Hitmen. Mr. Combs used access to Stevie J and his knowledge of Mr. Jones' admiration of Stevie J to groom and entice Mr. Jones to engage in homosexuality. Mr. Combs went so far as to share a video of Stevie J penetrating a Caucasian male without protection. This was done to ease Mr. Jones' anxiety concerning homosexuality. According to Mr. Combs, this was a normal practice in the music industry. Look, Stevie J is doing it. Do you think that's some sort of form of grooming there, Big Blue?
Oh yeah, big time.
I do too, man. I do too. This is this guy, Mr. Jones, shouldn't have had to endure any of this. It's horrific. And there are some screenshots here. They're redacted and stuff. You can't really see anything, but as I'm scrolling down, you probably are going to see something. So it says here, Mr. Combs informed Jones that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with rapper 5 and R&B singer 6 and Stevie J. So Mr. Combs has basically stated that he has had sexual intercourse with men, and these men are folks that he's looked up to in the music world.
Yeah.
Now let's scroll down. Oh, go ahead, Blue.
You see, if he came out saying that he was homosexual, then this would be like, nah, okay, he's a homosexual. But he's not saying that. P. Diddy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's saying he's the opposite. So.
Well, I mean, I don't think his sexual preference matters. I think it's the fact that he's grooming men who aren't sexually attracted to other men and forcing them into doing their acts. So it says here, Mr. Combs promised to make sure that Mr. Jones wins Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he engaged in homosexuality. So he's promising things to him if he were to do it. Now, who are these rappers that he had engaged in with sexual intercourse that he claims that Mr. Jones claims Mr. Combs had done? Rapper number 5 is the Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj, which was Meek Mill. And rapper number 6, he performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency, which is, if you go through and do a Google search and put that in there, that it comes back to Usher. So
7 o'clock on the drop top.
You already screwed it up, man.
I know. As I stopped, I'm like, dang it.
Janet Stubber comes in with her membership for 14 months saying, thinks Blue is uncomfortable about this material. He might be a little bit. And so let's try not to stay on those images there. All right, so here are some of the more specific details as well. On Thanksgiving Day 2022, Mr. Jones was in Mr. Combs' house located in Miami, Florida. A young Miami and her female cousin were also present. Mr. Combs was intoxicated and offered cocaine to Mr. Jones. Jones rejected him and proceeded to walk to the restroom. While using the restroom, young Miami's cousin bursted into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. Jones believes that Mr. Combs sent her in there to assault Mr. Jones. As she entered the bathroom, she dropped to her knees and began performing on Mr. Jones, who was exposed. Jones pushed her away and exited the bathroom. Young Miami's cousin did not accept Mr. Jones' rejection, and she proceeded to follow Mr. Jones out of the bathroom. She started undressing and attempted to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff. Once again, Mr. Jones pushed her off. The following images are from video 8 of young Miami, her cousin, Mr. Jones, and Mr. Combs. So they have video of that night. Now, I don't know if, they have any video of the allegations or the scene, the series of events that he's accusing, but there are pictures of him on this night with the individuals in the allegation.
Yeah. And then that's only the videos that they showed. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, these are only the ones that they have shown to us. So I believe that's the producer in Sean Combs. And there's Young Miami and her cousin, P. Diddy in the background. I don't know who that person is. Here you can see a screen in the background that looks like some kind of recording software on the screen there. Throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Jones was transported to California, from California to New York, Florida, and the United States Virgin Islands. During this time, Jones was forced to solicit sex workers and perform sex acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. On or about February 4th, 2023, Mr. Combs forced Jones to bring prostitutes and sex workers back to his home in Miami, Florida. And he has pictures of and video of the of that night. It says on or about February 2nd, Jones believes Mr. Combs drugged him. Mr. Jones recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused. He was in bed with 2 sex workers and Mr. Combs. He also recalls aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. Now, I forgot to bring this up, but I wanted to show you this. This is the rapper Meek Mill. This is while he was at Diddy's house during this time. And just kind of listen to it.
Out- man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you.
What do you think about that, Blue? A lot of people are saying that
he seems pretty intoxicated or drugged up.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe he says that to everybody. Maybe, I don't know. It seems weird to call another man daddy, but I mean, it's like when, depending on you hang, like, you know, with Puerto Ricans saying, hey, mommy, and they just talking to everybody. So, I don't know.
A lot of people are pointing out Meek Mill's positioning. He's kind of in the fiddle position with his rear end sticking out. And I think that some people are alluding that this may have been shortly after, and he does look drugged, one of those type of situations where he may have been drugged. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he looks completely out of it. Like he does. He looks out of it. And yeah, I don't know. This is one of the things. And his ex-girlfriend, Nicki Minaj, has come, you know, she's made some, not allegations or anything, but she's done some interviews where she was kind of alluding to knowing, you know, some rappers that were undercover or down low, or I don't remember how she stated it, but basically saying that they were, you know, in the closet, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, they're not all as brave as what's his name that has like song with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. He only had that one good year, and then he kind of died down. What's his name?
Yeah. Stacy says, Daniel, quit dignifying this man, calling him Mr. Combs. I don't care if you're reading it. Yeah. I try to quit saying that Mr. stuff over and over again. So Jones says he was in bed with his 2 sex workers and Combs. He recalls aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. Now, do you think, you know, just kind of devil's advocate, right? Do you think it's possible that that Diddy recorded Jones with underage sex workers, and he's getting out in front of it saying that he was drugged and that Diddy forced him and all these other things? I'm not saying that Combs is innocent or anything. I think that Combs probably, you know, did all these things. But, you know, do you think that it's possible that, you know, Diddy purposefully recorded him with underage sex workers?
I mean, it is possible. And a lot of, let's say, a lot of these guys have an entourage, and a lot of them are always filming for something.
Yeah.
You know, they're always filming on their Instagram. They're always filming on, you know, little side documentaries that they're making, or, you know, videos.
Yeah.
So or, you know, maybe he films it for fun. He could be one of those weirdos. And Maybe there is some video out there, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think there could be. I think that's been the accusation, right? That Diddy was, taking pictures or videos of artists in compromising ways or whatever you want to call it, and basically extorting them. This is a screenshot of the workers in bed with Jones the morning after being drugged. So like I said, you can't see much into it, but apparently that's what that is. It says here, on another occasion on Thanksgiving, the night of 2022. This is the same night that Miami Young's cousin attempted to assault him in the restroom. It says here, Mr. Combs asked Jones and DeForest Taylor to enter the studio bathroom. He asked them for a $100 bill because he wanted to do cocaine with him. Jones was scared, but luckily he didn't have a $100 bill, so Combs waited a little later to do the coke with young Miami. So this is where they were referring to earlier in the document, where we read that after Combs had offered Rodney the cocaine, this is what happened. So it says later on that evening, he required Jones to solicit sex workers from the booby trap on River, located at 3615 Northwest South River Drive in Miami, Florida. Jones did so. Combs forced him to engage in unsolicited sexual acts with these workers. Sounds like plural too.
Yeah, it seems like there's more than one worker that came home with him.
Yeah. How did Combs force him to engage in unsolicited sex acts? And they made sure to add that it was unsolicited, right?
Yeah.
Because this is coming from him, right? So it's just saying that, yeah, they were sex workers, but I didn't pay for it. It's just kind of protecting himself, so to speak, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Like, if they know it's, I'm not saying all of them, but like if they're known at the club to show up, spend some big money, they might have just voluntarily gone with them for a good night out, a good party time.
Well, they were definitely aware. It says here that Combs provided Jones with an exclusive bad boy baseball cap and required him to wear it to the booby trap on River as a signal to any sex worker that he approached that Combs was in town, and sent him to recruit them. So that was a sign like, hey, we're looking for a good time. As if he went in there with a bad boy's baseball cap. Apparently, these workers were accustomed to servicing Combs. They would know he was in town by the side of the baseball cap. The following Instagram profiles of two of the sex workers that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit and have sex with at his home in Miami, Florida. So they're doctored out or redacted.
Yeah, because some of the witnesses have to be protected. Or
it says here, Jones had no desire to solicit or have sex with these individuals, but Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force him into soliciting and sleeping with these women. Now here comes where the money aspect starts, right? It says that Combs used many tactics to maintain dominion and control over Jones. He promised him a Grammy for Producer of the Year for the Love album. He offered him $250,000 to purchase all the instruments he wanted. He promised him ownership of his $20 million property, One Star Island in Miami, Florida. He promised access to record label executives like defendants Lucian Charles Grange and Ethiopia Haberter. I can't pronounce your last name. Ethiopia. Mr. Combs would,
Habertermian?
It could be, man. I think I said it right the first time, but I struggle, man. I can't even get Kim right sometimes, That's 3 letters. So Mr. Combs would often switch up his approach. He would go from promising Jones the world to threatening him with physical harm. Combs threatened to eat Jones's face and informed Jones that he was willing to kill his mother, Janice Combs, if he must, in order to get what he wants. He wouldn't think twice to harm Jones. Now, I've heard not this statement where Combs stated that he would be willing to kill his own mother, those type of things. But Gene Deal, who is a security guard for Mr. Combs throughout this time, he had stated that he had overheard P. Diddy say something to the effect that he doesn't care if Big got to die, Tupac got to die, or Suge Knight got to go to jail. It was going to change because of that East Coast, West Coast beef that was going on.
Yeah.
And all those things ended up happening. Big, Tupac died, Knight's in jail.
Yeah, but Knight's in jail for his own actions.
No, I get it. But, saying those type of things where it's like, these guys got to die. And now he's saying, I don't care if this person has to die. Do you think that maybe perhaps he may have had something in, I think there's been the allegation of the Tupac murder, but do you think that maybe perhaps he may have had something into the Notorious B.I.G. murder?
I don't think he did anything with having to do with Notorious Ripper. Tupac, yeah. I think him and Big were two good buddies now.
Well, let me tell you something. Big wanted out. 1, 2. Big was he was planning on going to London that weekend. He didn't want to go to Los Angeles. P. Diddy forced him basically to go to Los Angeles. Remember, talked him into it, and he didn't care if he went to the awards or whatever. There was a specific after party that he wanted him there, and this comes from Gene Deal, and it was the party where everybody, the last one that he was at. Now, he had a broken leg because of a car accident that had just occurred, and so he wasn't very mobile, and that's why he didn't go to the initial, I think, award ceremony or whatever it was that he was in town for. But Diddy wanted him there. And then when they pull up to the red light, Diddy was in front of him. Diddy runs the red light. Big pulls up. He stays at the red light, and car pulls up. Impala shoots him up, takes off. There's been rumors that, the guy that did this was somebody named Muhammad, and was paid for by, there's been rumors that it came from Suge Knight. There's also rumors it came from Puff Daddy because Big wanted to leave. And
yeah, I remember that rumor.
So I don't know. We'll see. So this thing says here, on July 2nd, 2023, Combs had a listening party at his house. Present at his party was R&B artist 9 Redacted. Let's see who that is real quick. That's Army. It says Grammy award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement, assaulting the billionaire, and that's, we assume, is Chris Brown. And he was with sex workers and underage girls. The event began at 7. There were at least 5 women in the crowd who were under the age of 16. Yeah, they're pretty young, man. Combs forced them to drink Lace de Leon liquor. Upon information, believe Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy as well. Combs did not check the identification of any of these underage girls. He attempted to... The presence of these underage women made Jones very uncomfortable. He attempted to leave, but Combs forced him to stay. Combs went so far to take Jones' car keys to prevent him from leaving. After being forced to drink Lace de Leon shots, Mr. Jones began feeling lightheaded and recalls passing out, waking up at 4 a.m. the following morning, naked with a sex worker sleeping next to him. Screenshots of video 10 from night is embedded below. So he has screenshots of the underage drinkers, the underage women with Combs, and this is Justin Combs with another underage female. This is Sean Diddy Combs' son. Jones believes that Combs was grooming him to pass him out to his friends. This fear became a reality when Combs introduced Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. During the introduction, Mr. Combs suggested that Cuba get to know Jones better. He then left them alone in a makeshift studio on a yacht. So here's a picture of Cuba Gooding Jr. and P. Diddy shaking hands or something, talking. what were your thoughts of Cuba Gooding Jr. prior to all this, Big Lou? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I knew he had some issues in the past. I always remember that when he was in court for something. His picture's pretty famous out there on that one. And but that's crazy. This guy's got pictures of like everything. He's documenting it all.
Yep. Video, pictures, and there's hundreds of hours of footage. So we've only seen a few things that he supposedly has.
Yeah. And
I mean, go ahead.
I mean, I was gonna say that's pretty crazy because if you think you're P Diddy or some of the other celebrities, but man, there'd be no phones, put them away, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And his phone's out there, so to me it seems like I don't know if he was documented to eventually do this, but why'd you wait so long? You know what I mean? You had plenty of evidence in the beginning.
No, he wasn't getting paid. He was waiting to get his check.
Yeah.
So that's why. I think that if P. Diddy would have paid him, this probably wouldn't have came out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it says here, as evidenced by a video of which screenshots are embedded below, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching and groping and fondling Jones's leg, upper inner thigh, near his groin, the small of his back, near his buttocks, and his shoulders. See, they use the term buttocks here, Blue. So when they use the term anus, do you think that it's referring to what it's saying?
Yeah. I mean, they can't put something in there because it could be thrown out and say, no, it was, it can be proven that it was something else.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So it says that Jones was uncomfortable and proceeded to lean away from Gooding Jr. He rejected his advances. Gooding did not stop until Jones forcibly pushed him away. The following screenshot of the encounter with Cuba Gooding Jr. Now, there's a screenshot of this encounter. If there's a screenshot, there's probably a video. Right? Now, he said that Cuba Gooding Jr. was kind of all over him. I mean, look at the way he's looking at him with his arm draped around him. Look at where his hand is, his other hand.
Yeah. That's pretty weird, man. Who's taking the photos, though?
I think these were all recorded. I think everything had to be recorded. That was a requirement for P. Diddy. And so he recorded everything.
Dang, that's crazy. That's probably why they raided his house, is to get access to all the recordings.
Stacy says, I'm not sure another man would bang another man besides the anus. Well, what we're referring to is it said that he was getting groped and touched in the anus. And I was like, is that a like a football slap in the rear? But that would have been buttocks versus, anus. And that's groping and touching that. That's different.
He also touched my sphincter, and then he'd be like, holy crap, that's way in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this guy looks like he's about to try to take advantage of this dude. Now, it looks like he's smiling here, but like that could easily be an uncomfortable smile. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's continue. Throughout his time with Combs, Jones was under an implied work for hire agreement. He was not compensated for his time living with Combs or for the songs he produced. They failed to compensate Jones for his work. As a result, Combs and defendants LR, UMG were all unjustly enriched at the expense of Jones. Jones attempted to work with Combs to secure his publishing and royalty rights for the work he completed on the Love album. Combs only offered him $29,000 for 13 months, thousands of hours of work, and 9 songs that made it to the Love album. Ironically, Jones was willing to take $50,000, his publishing and royalties. Mr. Combs' self-serving greed would not allow him to pay Mr. Jones an additional $21,000. So that's all he wanted was 50 grand from this album that's probably making millions. And he would have been quiet, is basically what this is saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure now that all this is coming out, people must be looking at that album to see what songs he produced, and it's getting even more plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I think one of the things that definitely, if he wrote, co-write these and produce them, and they didn't pay him for it, then I think that's definitely another. He can win that battle in court. I think on that one at least.
Yeah, he definitely could, but he's going for I think 30 million now. On another occasion, while standing in Combs' bedroom, Jones was forced to watch Combs display his guns and brag about getting away with shooting people. Combs shared that he was responsible for the shooting in the nightclub in New York City with rapper Shine. This was a crazy situation, right? Because from what I understand, everybody couldn't gotten off with probation on this, right? But Diddy supposedly hired somebody to testify against Shine, and Shine got 9 years. Now, he didn't have to do that. Diddy, there was a separate, because in New York, the gun laws are super ass strict, right?
Yeah.
And they had separate lawyers, separate court. Diddy ended up getting a not guilty. Shine could have gotten, he was facing like probation, though. I think that was the worst. But so instead, he directed all the blame towards Shine. He got 9 years and even had a witness come forth against him, who later came out and agreed that she was paid by Diddy to go and testify against him. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. It gets crazier because this is also deals with, Sean Combs' girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
She carried the gun in there.
Jenny from the block.
Yeah, she's showing that thug life from the block in this one, man. It says here, artist Combs' girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, a.k.a. J-Lo, carried a gun into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. So she passed him the gun after the altercation. What do you think's going to happen when you pass a gun during an altercation?
Yeah, and that's why I always say that it's not fair that when I walk into a certain club that I get wanded down and the girls just get to pass by, because the girls always carry the weapons for the guys. I've always said that.
Yeah.
I'm the one that gets patted down.
You're the randomized guy.
Somebody touches my butt and my crotch area to make sure I don't have a knife or gun. And
do you have any weapons of mass destruction, sir? Oh my goodness!
I always laugh because I used to, like, when you went to Mexico, they always pat you down, want you down.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked into a bar one time here in San Antonio, and that guy had the wand. So I was used to already spread your arms and just let him wand you. And the guy's like, "Oh, this is go ahead. I'm not gonna wand you." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was already in position, man.
You already knew before they even asked. You already started.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man. But when it comes to like J-Lo and stuff, like this case here, I remember it, and I remember somebody getting shot. I just don't remember the details because I was fairly young at the time, and I don't think I was super involved in this. But he bragged about this shooting, right? And he bragged about others. I know I don't think it comes out in here, but have you heard about the conspiracy with Kim Porter, his ex-wife, I believe, or you got to pause or what?
Yeah.
All right. When you come back, I'll tell you about the Porter situation. So take that real quick. It says here that Jones was terrified of Combs and he felt like he could not tell him no. Combs constantly made it clear that he had immense power in the music industry and with law enforcement. So this is where I'm talking about how, we spoke earlier that during that shooting that occurred allegedly in the restroom, it was reported that it was outside. He's going to come out here a little bit later and say that law enforcement walked through the crime scene, and it took forever for them to come up with the decision that they came up with. And he even points down to the head of security for Mr. Combs, Fahim Mohad, aka Mr. Why did I say Mohad? I said Mohammed. I'm sorry. Fahim Mohammed, aka Mr. Muhammad. Now, I know that name sounds familiar, don't it? Isn't that the guy that has been alleged to have killed Biggie? Now, when you look at this guy's picture, obviously, it doesn't seem like he was the same guy. But could this be a role that's reoccurring? Instead of saying the real name, they just call him Mr. Muhammad? Maybe, something that I'm thinking. But yeah, Blue. So according to what I've been able to research, there's a conspiracy out there. So Kim Porter passed away, and the way she passed was under suspicious circumstances. And she was apparently either in a relationship. Well, she wasn't in a relationship with Diddy. I don't remember if she was married or not. This is all going from memory. But apparently she had, you know, a super horrible time with Combs. They got together. They broke up. He apparently, according to, I think it was like Gene Deal, like wiretapped her house after they broke up. Now, it was okay for him to go out and be with other women, but she met this one dude who also died suspiciously as well.
Oh, I remember this story. Yeah.
Yeah, she met this other guy and they had an altercation. He ended up also passing suspiciously. And the rumor goes is that Kim was writing a book, or was about to write a tell-all book that was going to expose P. Diddy. And then she mysteriously died. And it took forever for the autopsy to come back. When it did, it said it was just like a heart attack. But, you know, some people speculate that she was poisoned. You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy, dude. Like some of the stuff that is coming out now about the things that he'd been doing over and over, you know, it just makes you think and wonder, like, how in the hell did he come out and get out with that? And I think this is going to clear it up. It says Combs made it clear that his head of security, Fahim Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. Now, I brought up Mr. Muhammad during the Biggie thing. We talked about there being supposedly a shooter named Mr. Muhammad. Now, I don't think it's the same Muhammad, but is this the title of the guy that, you know, is his fixer? You know, regardless of who the fixer is, it could be anybody. That's who it is, and he could just be, you know, the whoever. Like, let's just say he has a guest. You know, whoever his guest is could have a code name. Let's just call him the Eagle, right? And so whether it's Chris Brown or, you know, somebody else, Meek Mill, they would be considered the Eagle for that event because they're the VIP person. Is Muhammad the fixer? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't think this guy was around back in the day in '96 shooting people, or '97, March '97. It looks fairly young, but then again, I could be wrong. He could be P. Diddy's age, and if he is P. Diddy's age, well, shoot, then he was definitely old enough or young enough.
I mean, it could be. It could be. You can see. I can't see his beard too well, but it looks like a little gray in the bottom. But I don't know. He looks young though.
He does look young, but you know, that looks can be deceiving. So he may end up being somewhere around the 40 something plus range, and you know, could be around Combs's age. Combs don't look. Nah, he looks weird. Have you seen him lately?
Yeah, he looks. For 50, he looks pretty aged, but he could also be all that drug use, man.
Dude, you look like Tales from the Crypt from the eyes and the forehead, man. What you talking about? Like his eyes are super sunk in. Like I don't know if he got like lipo on his eyelids or something, but they're like super in. And
it's all that drug use, man.
Probably, dude.
Eat away at you. But I actually got to get going, man. I got to work tonight.
All right, sounds good, my man. I'll finish this up. You have a good night.
You guys have a good night.
All right, thank you, Blue. Yeah. All right, so this says here, upon information and belief, Mr. Muhammad spoke with the LAPD after G was shot at CRS. The LAPD was at CRS and witnessed the blood in the restroom, and they went with the bogus claim of the shooting of G occurred outside of the studio. This was all thanks to Mr. Muhammad's connections within law enforcement. So this is what I was talking about. Law enforcement went in there. They saw what they saw, and yet this is the story that came out. That's insane. The allegation is huge. Jones had no reason to disbelieve Combs. He had seen firsthand through the shooting of G and the subsequent silence of the LAPD media that Combs indeed had the power to harm him. LAPD spent hours in the CRS after the shooting of G, yet there were no arrests. Jones witnessed the LAPD in the restroom pictured above, yet no arrests were made. The morning after the shooting, Jones and several others arrived at CRS, and G's blood was still on the floor of the restroom. Combs had hired a cleaning crew to clean it up. According to Jones, whenever defendant Grange, and this speaking with about It says here, Jones recalls seeing defendant Grange visiting Combs' home in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles. It says the footnote is TikTok is one of the most important short video platforms in the world. It has significant impact on the spread of global music. Today, it is believed that the artists are paying more and more attention to producing music suitable for dissemination on TikTok due to failed contractual renewal negotiations between Universal and TikTok of a lot of music. According to Jones, whenever Grange visited Combs at his home, it would be in the evening, and he and Combs would disappear for hours in Combs' bedroom. Grange sponsored and attended several Love album listening parties at Combs' home in California. These parties were sponsored by defendants MRLR and UMG. So if some of that money that were sponsored for this party was used to solicit sexual workers, then yeah, you got a problem there. As evidence above, these parties and sex workers and underage girls were present. During these parties, defendant Grange knew or should have known that Combs was drugging these attendees through laced bottles of De Leon tequila and Ciroc vodka. It's no secret that Combs had specific bottles of alcohol designated for females and other bottles designated for his staff, his artist, and himself. The fact was detailed by former artists and bodyguards of Mr. Combs. Former bodyguard Gene Deal, who I mentioned earlier, exposed Combs' pill mixing method used to spike cranberry juice and orange juice. According to Deal, Combs would place ecstasy and other date rape drugs in juices. Former artist Mark Curry exposed Combs spiking bottles of Moet champagne in the VIP section of nightclubs. Combs would have a set of Moet champagne bottles for his artists and a set for women. You know, the fact that there's two different is a huge red flag. And like I said last time, ladies, or men, or whoever, if you're in a situation where there's a separate bottle for separate people or individuals or group or class, whether it's male, female, or whatever the case may be, you may want to get out of there really, really quick. Not drink anything. And it goes into saying the same thing over and over again. It talks about Karam also having your staff laced with champagne, De Leon, and liquor bottles with ecstasy and other illicit drugs. That she witnessed this from Combs. That she would visit Combs' home in the evening and would disappear for hours in his bedroom. So it's kind of the same thing over and over again. Here it says that, let me find it. Defendant Christina Karam is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs, Jeffrey Epstein. And they have a picture of them too, and picture of Epstein and Maxwell. I mean, that doesn't mean anything just because they're pictured together, you know. But the accusations are very similar. It says here, Jones, during the 13 months he lived and traveled with Combs, he witnessed defendant Karam openly order and assist to keep Combs high off of gummies and pills. Karam required all employees, from the butler to the chef to the housekeepers, to walk around with a pouch of or a fanny pack filled with cocaine, GHB, ecstasy, marijuana gummies, and 2C, a pink drug that is a combination of ecstasy and cocaine. It was important to defendant Karam to have Combs' drug of choice immediately ready when he asked for it. Wow. Multiple occasions, Karam forced Jones to carry Combs' drug pouch against his will. Defendant Karam had the following individuals execute the following task for the RICO enterprise. Stevie J recruits sex workers and attends parties in freak-offs. Justin Combs solicits prostitutes, underage girls, and sex workers. Would also engage in freak-offs. Brendan Paul worked as Mr. Combs' mule. He acquires and distributes Mr. Combs' drugs and guns. So here's a picture of Brendan Hall. He was formerly a basketball player in Syracuse and obviously went down the wrong path afterwards. Frankie Santella works alongside Brendan while Brendan acquires and distributes Combs' drugs and guns. Frankie carries the money and pays for the drugs and guns. And here's a picture of Frankie. So this guy has everything, pictures of everybody, names, places. This guy is diming out everyone. Moy Bond hired sex workers, attended and participated in freak-offs. So there's another picture of the Thanksgiving night. Combs funded and used his affiliation with local gangs and gang leaders who frequented his homes in LA and Miami to secure the drugs and guns he obtained and distributed out of his homes in LA and Miami. I mean, like I said, we've all seen that, you know, the gang usage back when it was the East Coast, West Coast thing. You know, death row was heavy in, you know, Bloods. Red was their color, so to speak, and their security were, you know, filled with Bloods. And Puffy did the opposite. He went with Crips. Defendants executed the RICO enterprise with threats of violence, threatening to eat the plaintiff's face, displaying and distributing guns in the plaintiff's presence, bragging about having law enforcement under control, bragging about murdering people, and bragging about bribing witnesses and jurors in the criminal case concerning the 1999 New York nightclub shooting with Shine. I have this video I want to show you guys. It just came out a couple of hours ago about a woman who is willing to remove bullet bits from her face to prove that it was Diddy who shot her. Let's watch this.
Sean Diddy Combs have come forward since our interview with Natanya Rubin, and you remember we talked to her. She says that Diddy is the one who shot her at that club, but the supporters are now saying that Diddy didn't even want to take a plea deal in the 1999 club shooting because he was, quote, so sure of his innocence. They also said that information from someone who is claiming things that aren't true, who's looking for a payday. They said payday is not going to change that. Natanya Rubin joins us once again now. Natanya, we appreciate your time again. First of all, I want to know your reaction to these people now around Diddy who are coming out in support of him, saying that he was so sure of his innocence and that that's the reason he didn't take a plea deal in the case that you were involved in where you got shot.
So first and foremost, Brian, thank you for having me back on. And I give very little credibility to what they're saying because while everyone else is Monday morning quarterbacking, I am the survivor. And it is my assertion wholeheartedly that Mr. Combs was inappropriately charged originally. His charges should have mirrored that of Mr. Jamal Shine Barrow. He should have been charged with attempted murder, reckless endangerment, criminal possession of a weapon, and firing that weapon in an open environment.
And you bring up Shine. One of the questions that I've gotten several times since the last time we spoke to you is that people want to know whether you believe that Shine was convicted of a crime he didn't commit because he is the one who ultimately...
Absolutely not. Jamal Shine Barrow admitted on the Combat Jack podcast back in the days, rest in peace to Combat Jack, he admitted that he fired his gun and shot Julius Jones in the shoulder. Mr. Combs did not have accountability for what he did. I physically, who better to tell you what happened than the person who got shot smack dab in between my eyes?
Back then, Natanya, do you feel like they had made up their mind about who they were going to blame for this before they even talked to you, or?
Listen, here's what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Respectability politics. He was a notable figure. He was a multimillionaire. He had popularity, fame, all of a perfect storm of you get away with it. We know the country we live in. Unfortunately, those who have the money can oftentimes get away with their crimes. Unfortunately, and those who don't have the same social ranking are overlooked. And that's what has happened. By the grace of God, God saw fit to keep me whole, keep my mind sane and functioning, and keep me alive for such a time as this. And make no mistake, the gravity of the danger and the peril that I face and that I'm exposed to for having my say now, for what was done to me 24 years ago is not lost on me. But let me make clear beyond a shadow of a doubt. I am not now, nor have I ever been suicidal. I love life, and I'm grateful that God spared my life back on that fateful day on December 27th, 1999. I'm a living miracle.
Yeah, you are clearly a very...
anything,
Sorry to interrupt you, but you are a very strong woman. I mean, that is very, very clear. And you have done your research, and you deserve to have your voice heard, which is one of the reasons.
And I think it's important for me to say I'm a healthy woman. I live a simple, quiet, risk-averse life. So if I should meet with an untimely demise, it would require and be worthy of deep investigation. I understand the peril of what I am exposing my life to.
So even she's saying right now that if something were to happen to her, because she is willing to prove that it was Diddy who shot her in the face 24 years ago. I mean, her coming forward, it's kind of like almost insurance, right? Saying, hey, I'm coming forward. This is me saying this. If somebody hurts me, it's because I'm coming forward with this. It's out there. It's in the public. So if something were to happen to her, who do you think would be suspect number one? It'd be Sean P. Diddy Combs. And I think that would get back to her. So, for her to come forward and in this manner come out in the public is probably the smartest thing for her to do. Obviously outside of like if people wanted this to go quietly, I guess if, she didn't say anything, then obviously that would also keep her safe. But, speaking up and making sure that this guy doesn't get away with this type of stuff. He's gone away with it far and long enough. If he's doing what he's alleged to have been doing or is being accused of doing. So, yeah, her coming forward, I think it's just strong, brave, and courageous of her as well. I mean, this guy's obviously had some issues and has had, we'll get into it. He blew up some dude's car just because he was dating his ex. This guy's he's not all there. He's not all there. This thing continues to say that while living and traveling with Combs, Jones discovered that Combs has hidden cameras in every room of his homes. So we go back to the raid and what we saw in some of that video, the aftermath. Sean Combs put out a video, or his party put out a video of the aftermath of the raid and the destruction that was left behind. Obviously, they weren't going to show something that could have discriminated P. Diddy. They were going to show things from certain angles that weren't going to show anything bad. So if there was like wires hanging from one of the corners of the walls because there was a hidden camera up there, it's not going to come out in that video. But what they did show was that they went through everything, every drawer, Nick and Canny. And I think that should be some sort of, I don't want to say evidence, but that could be some sort of evidence to what they're going after. You know what I'm saying? What they're accusing him. Like, for instance, you're not going to look in a drawer for, something that's large. So they're looking for things that can fit in a drawer. Where, they're looking for things that are small, where they're recording devices, drugs, cameras that are hidden, things of that nature. And so definitely kind of clearing up the picture there. So it says here about Combs's IT guy. His name is Jose Cruz. He's the IT director. And Cruz intentionally hides behind the camera from social media and internet due to all the incriminating acts that he was required to record for Combs. And he supplies an account or profile that he has on his phone for Jose, Puff's tech guy in Cali. All right, so a lot of this stuff's going to be repeated from earlier. So I'm just going to go to the parts that I've highlighted. I've read through it all. It says here, back to the 1999 nightclub shooting in NYC when Combs required his then girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, to transport his illegal firearm into the NYC nightclub. Combs forced his then artist, Shine, to assume responsibility for the shooting of several individuals. Mr. Combs used his power, money, and influence to bribe jurors and witnesses, such as a friend of the shooting victim, Natanya Rubin, who reported to law enforcement that she saw Combs and not Shine pull the trigger and shoot her friend in the face. Natanya Rubin later testified at Combs's criminal trial that she was tying her shoe and may not have seen who shot the gun. She later confessed that Combs had paid her. So, she's confessing that this was some kind of payment. Where's the charges on her and Combs? You get what I'm saying? Like, now, I think it was Kanye West that accused Sean Diddy Combs of being a Fed. Could this be why he's getting away also with so much stuff? Is he's an informant of some kind? That's what they accused Epstein of doing as well. He would get high politicians and foreign government leaders in compromising positions and in doing illegal acts. That way they can control and use them. And it's been, the conspiracy was that, the government was aware of this and they used it to their advantage to control those politicians as well, to get them to do what they wanted, the deep state or whatever. So it's not too far off, right? The RICO enterprise continued throughout the years, including during Combs' 10-year relationship with his girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who, according to her civil complaint, when the relationship with her and Combs, that Combs forced her to carry his gun in a purse, forced her to engage in unwanted sexual acts with male prostitutes and sex workers, forced her to consume dangerous amounts of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, and ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol, and paying a member of his security team $5,000 to blow up a vehicle, or the vehicle, of Kid Cudi, another rapper that is out there, because he was jealous and insecure about their relationship. Now, I was listening to, apparently, I can't remember who the podcast was, but they were talking about an incident where Wally was recording with Cassie, and apparently this is where they suspect that Combs also had information or wiretaps or stuff, because Cassie and Wally were recording, and allegedly Wally is the guy that Sean Combs went in while they were recording. And apparently they were warned not to look at Cassie, not to do anything, that that Combs was a jealous guy, that they would require, typically it would be required that they would mail in or email their verses. They never were to record at the same place at the same time, and on this date they decided to do so. And at this time, Combs dangled Wally, allegedly, over the edge of a balcony because he was there recording with her, and they thought that he had no knowledge. He shouldn't have known. Somehow he found out while they were recording there and got there that fast. So yeah, it's insane. So he was the guy that supposedly was being dangled over a balcony on the 17th floor, I believe. Now, I think that he claims it didn't happen, or he hasn't acknowledged it, but I believe that's what's been said. All right, let's continue this. We're almost out of this. A lot of the stuff, like I said, is just kind of repeated stuff and things that they've already kind of gone over. It's just with code and charges. But I highlighted the important stuff. All right, so right here it says second clause of action, sexual assault and sexual harassment against Combs. As described above, Combs frightened and placed the plaintiff in apprehension of harm when he physically and sexually assaulted him from October 2022 to October 2023 in Combs's home in Miami, New York, United States Virgin Islands, and Los Angeles. Combs violently gripped and palmed Jones's anus and crotch without consent. That's crazy. Now it goes into even more detail, the grip and the palm. Combs forced Jones to work in Combs's bathroom and watched Combs as he showered. Combs forced Jones to work in the studio while Combs stripped naked to get his body massage. Combs forced Jones to work while Combs walked around naked. This goes into a little bit more about the possible cover up. And I want to say thank you again to Mikey S, who's been gifting Drunk Turkey Show memberships. Man, thank you. You're awesome, my man. Appreciate you. Yes, Angel. I did say this. All right, so let's see. As detailed above, Jones was 2 feet away from G as either Jay Combs or Sean Combs shot him multiple times in the restroom of CRS. Sorry about that. Dyslexia kicking in. In the restroom of CRS. As detailed above, Jones was the only individual that aided G as he laid on the bathroom floor in the fetal position, bleeding out. As detailed above, Combs and Jay Combs orchestrated a cover-up and through Fahim Muhammad lied to the LAPD and forced Jones and all of the other attendees of the writers' camp to lie to police as well. Combs and Jay Combs knew they shot G in the restroom, and G was shot, and as he was leaving the studio. Combs and Jay Combs intentional deception caused a delay in G receiving immediate medical care as the ambulance parked 3 blocks away from CRS out of fear that there was an active shooting. Jones had to run down the block and convince them that the shooting had ended. Wow. So this just goes back into like some of like the accusations. This one says Jane Doe 1 forcibly touched and attempted or threatened to touch the plaintiff's intimate areas or touch the plaintiff with her own intimate body parts. Kind of goes into some of those details, but I believe this is young Miami's cousin that they referred to. Yeah. Was assaulted on Thanksgiving in Florida 2022. So yeah, that's what that is. Just kind of going back over that. Same thing here. It says here Jones was assaulted by Cuba Gooding Jr. on a yacht rented by Combs. So, and then at the very end, the very, very end, because everything is just kind of the same thing that we've already talked about, like I said. But at the very bottom, because there's nothing else that I highlighted. Where was it? I know I highlighted it. Maybe I did. There it is. Jury demand. The plaintiff hereby demands a trial by jury on all issues, facts, damage stated herein. So the reason why you do this, jury, man, instead of like a judge, is this gets it out in front of the people. People get to hear this. It's not in closed doors. This is interesting. This is a tactic, obviously, by putting this out in the public. Sean Diddy probably doesn't want more of his alleged acts being out there. I mean, there's screenshots here, right? There's screenshots of videos. That means there's video. So if there is some sort of evidence of him acting inappropriately, this would push him to try to absolve this, in an agreement, a settlement. So crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Let's read some of the comments here, and then we'll probably be calling it a show. If you have any questions, please put a couple of stars next to them, or a super chat will help me see those questions and or comments. I have Mikey coming in with 2 gifted Drunk Turkey Show memberships. Janet Stubber saying Thinking Blue is uncomfortable with the material from earlier. Jason Truth asks or says, hey guys, I heard Ryan Garcia, professional boxer, sat the raids are designed to cover up what's there. He would mean the tape, sex trafficking, etc. Sure hope this isn't the case. What do y'all think? I'm not sure if that guy was there or not, but the raids were done by the feds, and this all seems to be federal. Mainly, they bring up a lot of different places: New York, Los Angeles, Virgin Islands, and I think that this is a federal stuff. They talk about RICO. I mean, I think this isn't going to be like Jeffrey Epstein, where everything's real quiet. We're not going to hear anything unless there's some sort of like high up there politician. But I'm not sure that Diddy had that pool of former presidents and current world leaders and things of that nature on his little black book list. I mean, he could. I don't know. Maybe I'm, underestimating him. But, the information that's already coming out is coming out real quick and a lot faster than it did with Jeffrey Epstein. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find out more about this case than we ever do about Epstein. I think that's going to end up being a fact. All right, so let me scroll up a little bit. Oh, I went too far. I went way up to the top. But yeah, this stuff is pretty crazy, man. Kim died in her sleep from pneumonia. That's right. It was pneumonia, but they were saying that there were certain poisons that could mimic pneumonia. Yeah, I'm sure the Emmys got paid off too. Yep. Diddy is going to take the fall because of bigger people involved. That's possible. I mean, a lot of the stuff that Diddy was doing was sure out of the Epstein playbook, it seems. The extortion, filming of illegal acts and things of that nature, the extortion of underage women, and the trafficking to high-powered individuals. I mean, it sounds like a page out of his playbook. Sean Combs became a billionaire. I think that's his net worth. I'm not sure. Let's Let's find out what Sean Combs' net worth is. Sean Combs' net worth. $800 million. And it's down because of some bad mistakes he's made. I believe he was over $1 billion not too long ago. And I don't know who his artists are. I'm not really familiar with the hip hop scene today. It's not really my thing. I'm more of a rockish country kind of guy to me, or Texas country, and I listen to some of the old school stuff when it comes to hip hop, the Tupac, the Biggie. I really wasn't into Puff Daddy. He was more of a producer, I thought, than an actual rapper or anything like that. But just crazy, crazy situation. Let's see. Are we supposed to think with all these connections that someone didn't tip him off New York about the raid? His airplane was in the air during the raids, and it was going to one direction already. They already made the flight plan before they happened. So I would think that there's a high possibility that occurred. Thought I saw something. Someone say something about Beyonce. Well, I don't know about Beyonce, but I know Jay-Z is probably in hiding right now. I think that's what people are saying. They were all groomed into the lifestyle, including Diddy. That's true. So apparently, the guy, I can't remember his name, Aaron something, I think, or Anthony something. He was the music guy before Sean Combs. Sean Combs became an intern at his music company when he was 20, and that guy was under the wing of another billionaire who ended up coming out of the closet. And supposedly the guy that Diddy was working for was pleasuring that guy above him. And then apparently there's rumors that Diddy went around the guy that he was pleasuring. So apparently he was pleasuring the guy that he was working for, and that's how he got his intern job. And he went around the guy that he was working for to pleasure the big guy, and that's how he ended up getting Bad Boy Records. Because the big guy is the one that owned the record company, the head honcho dude, you know what I mean? So that's from what I understand is how he ended up getting up there in the business, allegedly. And that's just my opinion and thoughts and what I've read. I have no information into it. That's just some of the things that I've seen that makes sense. But I just can't remember for the life of me what these guys' names are. You guys will probably let me know in the comment section. Drink 100%. Let's see. Trying to go through these. What about Wally? Wally, oh man, I went all the way to the bottom. Wally was the guy who was dangled over the balcony there, supposedly, allegedly. They probably are. This reading is giving me Sahara Desert vibes. The Heen? I'm not sure what that means. All right, so it says here the feds didn't arrest him because they're giving time to people to come forward and snitch him up on making deals with judges, collecting more testimonies, and having a strong case. He's getting life in prison. I have no doubt that that's what's going to end up happening. They're going to make an example out of this guy too. I guarantee you. With all the stuff that's been going on, the fact that there was no real justice in the Epstein case, and if you believe that he did what he did to himself, or that he's gone, there was no justice in that. And with all this attention into the trafficking and underage exploitation stuff, whether it's from P. Diddy to, Jeffrey Epstein and Nickelodeon and Dan Schneider, and that stuff that's being alleged to have happened. I think that they're going to make an example out of this guy, in my opinion. Rightfully so. He deserves it. Let's see. The government knows about flight plans. Yeah, he tried to fake him out though by throwing up a freaking, what's it called? A decoy. There you go. He's trying to throw up a decoy plane to make people think, or their law enforcement think, he was on the wrong plane. Allegedly. Justin Bieber, well, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, there's some audio out there that is pretty crazy, supposedly, of P. Diddy and Meek Mill. I don't know if it's true or not. I sent it to the guys without telling them what it was. But it was in the description of the YouTube video, so I'm sure they read it. But they claimed not to before listening. And that was Jaime and my other two buddies, Jonathan and Hugo, who aren't here right now. They're probably playing Fortnite as we speak, which is probably where I'm going to be heading to. So I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'll be back on maybe tomorrow in the evening. Sunday's Easter, so I'm not going to be doing our member show. I may do it tomorrow night. So if you're not a member, please consider becoming a member. If you can't, if it's not in the cards for you, you can always listen to the member only lives on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just type in Drunk Turkey Show and it'll take you right there. Member only shows usually air on Spotify and Apple on Tuesdays. So make sure you catch every Tuesday podcast on those platforms. That way you don't miss the members only. We usually get into a great conversation, or, you know, open up the phone lines, and I think you guys would enjoy it. So make sure you guys go check it out. But with that being said, I'm out of here, guys. I appreciate y'all. Peace.